People do what people see. So the reason vision works is it's visual. Leadership is visual. When people follow a leader, it's because they see that leader. When culture is established in a company, it's not established by the words that you say. It's by the actions that you do. So visual really works. In fact, Stanford research says 89% of everything you and I know, we learned it visually first. 10% audio, 1% through the other senses. So establishing a vision is just absolutely essential for the success of a company. However, in the leadership world that I live, what I try to help people understand, especially when you're talking about, Pat, starting something, building something up, in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, I have the law of buy-in. And the law of buy-in just simply says people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. And so when leaders come up to me, Pat, and they'll say something like, boy, John, I've got this great vision of something I would really like to build, this company I'd like to start. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think that people will gravitate to the vision? And I always stop up and I say, well, let me ask you the question. Have the people bought into you as a leader? You see, if they've bought into you as a leader, they're going to buy into the vision. If they haven't bought into you as a leader, they're really not going to buy the vision. So when people talk about vision, they talk about putting some kind of a preferred picture of the future out in front of the eyes of people for them to see that would motivate them. And I say, no, that comes second. There are two visions you've got to cast for your people. And the first vision isn't anything about what you want your company to be. The first vision is who you are. And if you are the right person, then they're ready to sit down and they're ready to enlarge their mind about the vision that you may have for them. But if they haven't really bought into you, then they're not going to buy in the vision. So whenever I talk about vision casting, I say there's a difference between a vision caster and a vision carrier. When they buy into me because I carry that vision. In other words, when they see John Maxwell, when they see Pat Flood, they see the vision. They already see it. Now, there is a vision. There is a preferred picture out there for that future, but they see you. They see me. So I always say that, it's you that you sell before it's the vision that you sell. And a lot of leaders, they miss it there. They just think, if I have a great vision, people will follow it. Well, they may like the vision, but if they don't like you, they're not going to follow you to it. So let's get ourselves in a sense in a state of credibility, because we have a way of making that vision talk to people every day and become personal every day and become achievable every day if they see it in us. If they don't see it in us, it's just not going to sell. In the beginning, you have nothing to show. In other words, the dream that you have within you or the vision you have, you don't have the facility to show. You don't have the results. I remember, in what was it, 1997 when I started Equip, I said we want to train leaders around the world. Well, that's a wonderful statement, but I didn't have anybody to point to. I didn't have anybody say, now look, we've trained 60,000 people here, and I had nothing. I just had a vision. That's why the buy-in is essential. There's nothing to show. So they have to buy into you and believe that you have credibility as a leader to pull it off before they buy into that vision. So, it's what John Wooden used to tell his basketball players. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do. Well, the credibility of a leader isn't what he or she says. The credibility of a leader is what he or she does. And so it's so key for me to live that vision and become credible and believable and have people borrow my vision until they can see it be a reality, but they borrow it because of me. Kouzes and Posner, in their book, The Leadership Challenge, which is a phenomenal book, by the way, what they say is that great leaders take the vision from me to we. And so go back to, they have to buy into the leader before they buy the vision. But then there's another important part that most people miss again. Again, we take the vision and almost make it like paramount. Like, oh, if you just have a great vision, you can build a great company. And that's just not true. It's not true. Let's talk about me to we for just a moment. Well, what that means is that there has to be a transition in any company where people quit talking about our founder's vision, or this is what John Maxwell has shared. This is where he says we're going. And you know that you're making great progress on the vision when the people start talking about our vision, and this is what we're doing together, and this is where we're going, and we're very excited about this next step in our journey. Now, all of a sudden, you're hearing conversation of buy-in. They not only have bought into you, but they've bought into the vision. But how does that happen? That happens by giving people a piece of the action. And again, I think this is where the big miss is. When I was a young leader, this was a big miss for me. I thought, man, I've just got to get this perfect vision, and I lay it out, and the people will just respond, and here we go. Well, what I didn't understand was that they didn't want to follow my vision. They wanted to follow their vision. And I learned over years that if I take my vision and then sit down with them and I ask them a very simple question, help me make it better. Help me make it better. Here's what I think, and here's what I see. But let's talk about it. And this is powerful. I can tell you, I've done this so many times. This is powerful. I sit down with you, Pat, and maybe there's 7 of us around the table. And I say, well, okay, let me share with you what I'm thinking. Let me share with you what I'm seeing. And I need you to help me. By the way, one of the most important phrases a leader can ever tell their team is, I need you to help me. This is, you see, most leaders, they kind of come in and here I am to save the day and I'm here to help you. It's powerful when I walk in my people and say, I need you to help me. That's not where, here's what I know. It's good, but it's not great yet. But you're going to help me make it great. So let's talk about it. Now, this is what I talk about when I talk about shared vision, creatively coming together and putting together. Shared thinking is huge. If you have a good idea and I have a good idea, we have 2 ideas. But if you don't share it with me and I don't share it with you, I still only have 1 idea. So the first thing is we got to get it on the table and we have to share it. But now watch happens. If you have a good idea and I have a good idea and we begin to share that good idea, guess what? Pretty soon we get 3 ideas, because what happens is it's in the sharing that ideas multiply. Ideas are never great in the beginning. I mean, good Lord, they have to be developed. So a great idea is a combination of several good ideas put together. And then all of a sudden you have a great idea. So around the room, Pat, I get all of you in the room and I say, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm seeing. Make it better for me. If I've done this once, I've done it 1,000 times. And if I've done it once and asked people to help me, 1,000 times they've helped me. I have never left the room with the original thought I had that didn't have better perspective and better content in it. Every time I ask people to help me, they help me, and it gets better. Now, all of a sudden, when I walk out of the room, it isn't my vision. It's not my idea. It's our idea. I have another teaching I do called Action Attraction. And it's a very simple teaching, but the teaching is very powerful. And that is, sometimes we expect the vision to do the work for us. So we get clarity as far as here's what we want to accomplish, and we put the dream on the refrigerator or whatever it is, and then we wait for that dream to work. And what people miss is the fact that you have to take action on whatever that vision is. You can't allow the vision to do the work. You have to do the work of the vision. So in Action Attraction, here's what happens. I have to start moving. Now, the challenge for people on vision and movement is the fact that in the beginning, you don't see everything. I'm always very clear to let my people know, here's what I see. But I want you to know what I see isn't the total picture. But the only way I'm going to get the better picture and the only way I'm going to get the bigger picture is to start moving. So I move without all the answers. I move without having, quote, perfect planning, but I move. Because here's what happens. When I know who I am and when I know what I want to accomplish and I start moving on that, it's the action, it's the movement that begins to attract people to me. So here's what happens. I start moving, and all of a sudden I attract resources, I attract people, I attract opportunities, all the things that if I stood still and said, boy, I hope this vision becomes true, or boy, I hope this dream becomes a reality in my life. And I always say, well, the dream's free, but the journey isn't. So, so let's get moving here. Let's get moving. And I think so many times we don't move. And people say, well, I don't have all the answers. Well, you'll never move if you have all the answers. Where you find the answer, moving is how you find the answer. So you plan well, you think on the front end. I'm not anti any of that, but you have to move. And all of a sudden when you start moving, the picture starts open. So when I said, we're going to train 1 million leaders in the world, people said, well, how are you going to do that? Well, I said, now there are 2 or 3 things I know we're going to do. And they looked at me and they said, is that enough? I said, no. I said, it's not enough. But when we start moving, it'll become enough. Because we'll attract more people, we'll attract more trainers, we'll attract more money. It'll all come, but you have to move on the vision. And to kind of just wait for the vision to make your day is a huge mistake.
Today's episode is entitled Vision is a Team Sport, as Mark mentioned. And as you know, as leaders, vision is incredibly important. In fact, many times, one of the reasons an organization is not gaining traction is because people don't clearly understand the vision. And so I want to talk about, before we get into vision as a team sport, why this is important. And what I've discovered, and you have too, is that thriving organizations and thriving leaders know a secret. They know how to move people from benefiting from the mission and vision of an organization to participating in the mission and vision. So what does that mean? Well, let's say if you're a nonprofit leader, how do you move people from just benefiting from your organization to participating in it? By volunteering, by recruiting more volunteers, by recruiting more financial contributors to what you're doing. When you move people from simply benefiting from what you're doing to participating in it, what that means is they have bought into the vision. Or if you're a business leader, how do you move customers from simply benefiting from your products to participating in your mission and vision by telling their friends about your business? Here's why that is important. In today's world, a business is no longer what it tells customers it is. A business is what customers tell other customers it is. And when you can create a community of people that talk about your business, tell their friends to go there, what you have done is you've created a sense of belonging, and that sense of belonging comes down to the fact that they've understood the vision of what you're trying to do. So you have moved people from simply benefiting from your resources, from your products, from your services to, hey, I want to be a part of that. I want to volunteer for that. I want to contribute financially for that. I'm going to be a repeat customer. And not only am I going to be a repeat customer, I'm going to tell my friends about your business and your organization. So the question is how do you do that? How do you move people from simply benefiting from to participating in? Well, vision is one of the most critical and vital tools in the toolkit of any leader and any leadership team. But often when it comes to vision, vision is often portrayed as the game of golf. Now, don't send me any emails about the game of golf. I love the game of golf. I love it. I can't wait for the Masters. Got it. But typically in leadership and vision, and yes, there is the visionary leader. We'll talk about that in just a second. But typically in organizational life, there's one person knocking the ball down the course and the rest of us are just following along. And when that happens, when the vision is on the backs of one person, what we've done is we put a lid on the potential of that vision, because there's only so much that one person can do to continue to cash the vision, communicate the vision, and live out the vision. And at some point, if the vision relies on that one person, the vision will eventually go away. That's why in today's lesson, I want to talk about that vision isn't an individual sport. That for vision to have a long runway and to reach more and more people, vision is a team sport. Instead of golf, look at it or consider it like football. You've got a team on the field. There is a quarterback. We could call that a visionary leader, if you will. That quarterback is leading the way, but everyone on the field has a role. Everyone is playing a part in moving the vision, moving the team down the field. And when you show me a team, an organization that has a group of leaders, a group of employees, a group of coworkers that understand what we're going to talk about vision, I'll show you an organization that is moving people from benefiting from to participating in the mission and vision of the organization. Now, to get there, to understand that vision is a team sport, here's what we're going to do in today's lesson. I'm going to give you one question, and my hope is that you would take this one question that I think can really help you do this, to move people from benefiting from to participating in. I want you to take this one question, and I want you to put it throughout the entire org chart. I want you to put this throughout, to send it to everyone to say, this is a question that I want to bother you. So when I was a nonprofit leader at a church here in Atlanta called Gwinnett Church, the question that I'm about to give you, I gave to every single person on our staff. In fact, I created a little sticky note and put it on their laptop and said, if you'll just open your laptop every day and answer this one question about vision, it's going to help us move people from simply benefiting from coming to our church and enjoying what we do to participating in it. It's going to help us recruit more volunteers. It's going to help us recruit more financial contributors, and it's going to help get more and more people involved in what we are going and trying to do. And the overall principle is this, and kind of the bottom line of today's episode is simply this, that the more vision carriers you have, the more vision casters you have. The more vision carriers you have, the more vision casters you have. So when you see vision as a team sport, you're inviting more and more people on the field. You're inviting more and more people in the field of play. And the more people that you have in the field of play in your organization that clearly understands the vision, the further and faster you're going to go, and the more people you're going to transition from simply benefiting from to participating in. Now, before I give you that one vision question that I want to, in a really good way, bother you and your team, I want to share with you the 3 levels of vision buy-in. There are 3 levels of vision buy-in that's happening in your organization right now. This is true if you're a nonprofit, true if you're a for-profit. In every organization, there are certain levels of vision buy-in. This could be for your team. This actually could be for your customers. If you're a nonprofit, these are the folks that aren't on your staff team, if you will, but they are your volunteers, or they could potentially, or they drift in and out of your organization. Every single person that is attached to your organization in some form or fashion, they are at one level of buy-in, vision buy-in. The first level of vision buy-in is they buy into the vision in order to benefit from it. What do I mean by that? Well, if I like your restaurant, I'm buying into the vision enough to come to your restaurant and eat. That's about all I got. If I like your church or your nonprofit, my buy-in is I'll come on a Sunday, or I'll come when you're open, or I'll come if it benefits me. So my level of buy-in is that I am able to benefit from it, and that's all there is. The second level of vision buy-in is people who are comfortable to contribute to it. They contribute comfortably to the vision. So maybe more easily recognizable in nonprofit world, but they may throw you a few dollars at the end of the year. They're not going out of their way. They're certainly not going to volunteer. They're certainly not going to participate, but they may throw a few dollars your way. They are willing to buy into the vision to contribute comfortably to it. So there are people in vision buy-in to benefit from it, and that's all they're going to do. They may contribute comfortably, but they're not going to go out of your way. But then the third level of vision buy-in is this: people who are willing to give their lives to it. Now, I know that sounds like kind of daunting, but what I mean by that is people who would say, you know what, I'm going to spend a good portion of my career here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not just going to throw a few dollars to your nonprofit at the end of the year. I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to set up recurring giving every month because that's how I believe in. I'm willing to give my life to your organization. So 3 levels of vision buy-in: people who contribute to benefit from it, people who contribute comfortably to it, or people who are willing to give their lives to it. And here's the role of every single leader listening to the podcast today. Your role and your goal And my role and my goal is to take the people in the first two levels of vision buy-in. They will buy in to benefit from the vision and mission. They will buy in enough to contribute comfortably to it. Our goal is to move them from those two levels to the third level. The more people that we can bring along who will give their lives to what you're trying to do, the further and faster you'll go. And not only that, what we're talking about is we're trying to create more vision carriers. And the more people who are willing to give their hearts and lives to what you're trying to do, the more traction you're going to get. And there are a lot of ways to do that, but one of the most significant ways to do that is vision. So that leads me to the vision question. This question, I hope, bothers you in a really good way, but not just bothers you. I want it to bother your team. And again, for them to get to the end of the day and look at this question. Again, as I mentioned, I gave the team at Gwinnett Church this little sticker, and every time they opened their laptop and closed it, they saw it. And I wanted them to get to the end of the day asking themselves, did I answer this question? And the question is simply this. This is the vision question. The vision is a team sport, that when you get people, your team around this question, it helps you move people from benefiting from to participating in. The vision question is simply this. What did I do today to cast vision for our organization? Let me say that again. What did I do today to cast vision for our organization? And when I gave this to our team, I highlighted and underlined the word today, because that's the key. I wanted them, as they closed their laptops at the conclusion of the day, I wanted them to say, you know what? It was a busy day. We got a lot of stuff done today, but you know what? I have an answer to this question. I sent a thank you note to a volunteer. I called someone. I posted something on social media reminding everyone, this is what our vision, this is who we're about. I saw something that really was was a huge achievement in our organization, and I wanted to celebrate that, because what's rewarded gets repeated. What did I do today to cast vision for our organization? And what happens is I want to make sure everyone knew that we all play a role in vision. And many people in organizational life don't understand that. So let me give you an example. When I was at another church, Buckhead Church, here also in Atlanta, one day I noticed that our receptionist, the delivery packages would come in, people were coming in, the phone was ringing, she was, responding to people online, and her name was Joanne Burns, and I just walked up to her and I said, Joanne, you're one of the best vision casters in our entire church. And Joanne said, oh, Jeff, I'm not a vision caster. I don't like to get up in front and talk to people. I'm like, no. That's a portion of vision casting, and that's, usually reserved for the leader. I totally get that. But no, what you're doing, how you're interacting with people, the language that you're saying, you're repeating the language back to what we want people to understand, and to understand who we are, how you are treating them. It's incredible. You're an amazing vision caster. And that was maybe the first time that Joanne understood that, wow, I am a vision caster. But everyone in the organization is a vision caster. But more often they kind of think, no, that's for the top leader, or if that's the visionary leader. No, there's truth in that. There's a visionary leader that's saying, let's, follow me, let's go there. But everyone has a part to play as it relates to vision. That's why this question, what did I do today to cast vision for our organization, is so helpful. And here's why. Vision, rarely repeated, is quickly forgotten. Vision, rarely repeated, is quickly forgotten. And when the team isn't repeating the vision to one another, to the people that they're serving, then the vision can get lost. This is why, as we talk about vision as a team sport, the other question I would consider you as the leader to ask is, what is the language that the team is using to talk about our vision? What is the language? In fact, I would encourage you as a leader to do a vision inventory. What is a vision inventory? A vision inventory is just walking around and going, hey, what do you think our vision is here around here? What do you think our vision is? What do you think that is? I'd just love for you to hear it. And just listen to what they have to say. And if there are blank stares, or they kind of stumble over some words, or they're not really clear, then the warning light on the dashboard of your organization should be blinking. But when you walk around and when people understand, oh, I can tell you what our vision is. Not only can I tell you what our vision is, let me show you what I did today to cast vision for our organization. I made a phone call. I wrote a thank you note. I communicated to a group, this is what we're about. We took great strides today to move us closer to who we are, because that's what our vision is. So as you look at your team, look at you going forward and wondering, does the team really buy into the vision? Remember the 3 levels of vision buy-in that we talked about. But ask yourself this question: what would it look like if I let this question, what did I do today to cast vision for our organization? What would that look like for you? How would you implement that in your organization? And here's my hunch. If you'll do this, and if you'll consistently talk about this and reward the behavior you want repeated as you see different team members moving the ball down the field closer to the organization that you want to become, what you're going to discover is as the leader, you're going to discover a lift. And what I mean by that is you're going to discover as the leader that you're not alone, that there are people that can help you as the visionary leader, as the leader of the organization, or wherever you may be in the organization. The more that you have people that are standing shoulder to shoulder with you, moving the vision of the organization forward, you begin to understand the power of using a team sport mentality. Yes, vision is a team sport. And yes, you can move people from benefiting from to participating in. But it's a daily challenge. It's a daily task. And that's why I believe this question, what did I do today to cast vision for our organization, can be a game changer for you and your team.
I told you that you were going to love today. In fact, I told Jeff when he got done, I said, Jeff, I needed 15 more minutes of this talk. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, just invite me back. And Jeff, you're coming back. You're coming back, coming back. Hey, by the way, if you want to know more about Jeff, of course, you can find him at Maxwell Leadership. I'm going to tell you how to book him to come speak to you and your organization in just a moment. But Jeff wrote a book. This is not his most recent. I love his most recent. We'll talk about that maybe next time. But it so relates with what you talked about today. So we've put this book in the show notes, and we're giving you a 15% discount. You can go to the show notes, enter in the keyword. I think podcast is the keyword that you should enter there to get that discount. Also, Jeff speaks for Maxwell Leadership Thought Leaders. You can go to maxwellleadership.com/speaker/Jeff Henderson, and you can find out more information about bringing Jeff there. But Jeff, as I was listening today, number one, you've got these one-liner buzzwords, these little one-liners like John Maxwell. John's going to have to take notes from you or something because man, this idea of getting your team to grow beyond benefiting from the mission to participating in the mission. Mm-hmm. And then you said something else that every one of us key leaders thought. You said you can get farther faster if you will get people buying into the vision. And I don't know how many of you would agree with me, but I'm all into the farther faster idea. Right. Thank you again for being here today, and thanks for the content. Really good.
Absolutely. Well, I'm honored to be here because when we're talking about vision carriers, honestly, you're one of the best vision carriers I've ever seen. And obviously, John has a vision. You've come alongside him. But as I've been around the Maxwell leadership world, I've noticed that it's way beyond Atlanta. Mm-hmm. When I go to these events or I'm on a call, it's literally people around the world. And what I'm curious to understand is how has Maxwell Leadership created vision carriers around the world, allowing you all to go further faster?
Well, we have, and you know this, Jeff, because you've been so active with me here for the last few years, but we have 46,000 coaches that are vision carriers. And you've met them, you've spoke to them, they're using your content for. They're rabid. Yep. They're vision carriers. In fact, sometimes I think they're vision inspirers because they are just so fired up. I think one of the things that I learned from John a long time ago is if you want to have vision carriers, you're going to have to put their picture in the flag. You're going to have to make sure that when they see the flag, they see their place in the banner that you're carrying. And many years ago, John decided, hey, I'm going to make the coaches the champion, not Maxwell.
Right.
And I think that's a big deal here in what you've been teaching today, and something that I've seen, John. You've got to make people the hero in your company's story. And if you can't figure a way to do that out, or you can't figure a way to do that, then I think that you're going to have people that can kind of repeat it, people that kind of get excited about it, but I don't know how much they'll carry. The second thing that I would say I think that John and our team has done really well is empower them. Give them the guidelines. Every company, every organization has its set of values, its set of disciplines. Get all those set. But then get your hands off as a leader and let people make it theirs. And when you can give people a sense of empowerment, there's a greater propensity they have to be that vision carrier and to be a part of the team. And then the final thing that I would say is celebrate often. And I've watched you do this. I watched you do this at Gwinnett Church where you talked a lot. I watched you do this at Chick-fil-A in your experience there. You figured a way out that when people were vision carriers, you would celebrate loud, you would celebrate often. And when people that gets rewarded gets done, when people get rewarded in vision carrier activities, guess what they want to do tomorrow? Carry the vision a little bit more.
That's right.
Because they were celebrated. So I think it comes from that empowerment. I think it comes from a sense of celebration. I think it comes from a sense of identity. Give them an identity.
That's so good. Now, I've seen you personally, I've seen John empower you. And in your role now as owner of the company, just interested over the years, how has John poured into the vision to make sure that if he's not here and you're somewhere speaking on behalf of John, he's completely comfortable with that?
Yeah. So I think early on, I'm a driven guy. I'm a type A personality, obnoxious beyond comparison. All of us type A personalities, we drive everybody crazy. But when I joined John's team, and more specifically when John accelerated me to the role of CEO 13 years ago, I had to determine something as a leader, and that was that I was not going to be the vision creator. That wasn't my role as a second chair. I wasn't going to be the vision caster in a lot of cases. That was John. But I could be a vision carrier, as you talked about today. And so I'll talk to all of you second chair leaders out there, as well as those now of us that carry a vision, what to look for in a second seat leader. And I've taught this before, even shared it a little bit on the podcast. It bears repeating today, that when I first come and started working with John as CEO, I realized that I really had an agenda. John had an agenda. My agenda very quickly needed to be altered to be a carrier of John's agenda. And what happened for me, Jeff, is I was a vision carrier, but I was also passionate about casting vision and even creating vision. But I discovered as the second chair or as a teammate that quickly I needed to let my agenda go and John's agenda needed to become my agenda. But what happened over several years is while I gave up my agenda originally, by making John's agenda my agenda, it captured John's attention, and pretty soon his agenda became our agenda. And then pretty soon he began listening to me to help craft his agenda from my thoughts and ideas. There becomes this mutual respect the longer you work together, but it starts as a second chair that it's their agenda. Their agenda becomes my agenda as a second chair. And then ultimately my agenda became his agenda. Our visions became together. I think when you look at people that are leading companies, that are visionaries, and that's many of you that are watching today on YouTube, many of you that are listening. If you will do a good job of creating, as Jeff said, an idea of a team sport around your vision, rather than this is my vision, you need to listen to it, you need to implement it, you need to consume it. It needs to become you, and you become more collaborative, as Jeff talked about today, in making sure that the vision becomes exactly that. It's ours. The benefit and the sense of fulfillment will create that sustainability of further, faster that you talked about.
And here's the temptation of leaders. And you and I are preachers' kids, so we grew up in this, and people of faith. So if I can use church language for a second, in church world, the leader could say, hey, I went up to the mountain. I heard from God. God told me what to do. I'm coming down. So if you disobey me, you're really disobeying God. Follow me, right? Now, here's the great thing about that. It gets things done quicker, faster.
That's right. It does.
We don't have to have a committee and all that. But when I talk about vision as a team sport, some leaders may say, whoa, that gets complicated because I got more people in here. It does get more complicated.
Yep.
But you quickly understand who's really bought in to the second chair or the third chair. And if you got some people that aren't bought into the second chair or third chair, that's fine. They may have a vision that they need to go pursue.
Yep.
So while it can be intimidating and it definitely takes more time. Anytime you deal with people, it takes more time. Vision as a team sport, I think you, John, and the team here have modeled it so well because it's not dependent on just one person.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I've learned from people like you. One of the things that I will tell you about Jeff, not only is he good at one-liners, not only good at communicating and all of that, but Jeff has this incredible ability to synthesize things that gives people handles. And that's a little bit what we're talking about here, is that for people to carry your vision, you're going to have to give them a way to hold it, to carry it, to make it theirs, that identity thing that we talked about a little bit earlier. You know, I loved, you guys on podcasts, you hear Jeff quoted all the time, and sometimes you may not even know it. But when you made the statement, wrote the book for, I'm going to challenge you if you don't have it, pick it up. If you've got it, you need to give it to somebody else, somebody on your team that you want to be a vision carrier. But you made a statement that has stuck and has been quoted on this podcast. Why don't we as companies, as leaders, as organizations, why don't we stop trying to be the best company, the best organization in the world, and start being the best company or the organization for the world? You can remember saying that. Mm-hmm. I quote you all the time on that. Because truly, for us to make that team sport that we're talking about is going to come into our ability to do something that is beyond ourselves. Right. Mm-hmm. The vision cannot be about self-gratification at the leader level or even at the team level. It's got to be about something bigger. It was you. Go ahead and say something on that.
Well, I would just say, what you're tapping into, I think, is a fundamental human need. We all want to be a part of something that's bigger than ourselves.
That's right.
And that's why vision as a team sport allows people to do that. Now, not everybody will buy into your vision. That's okay. But those that can and those that will, when they understand that I belong to something that's bigger than me, they lean in. We all want to, we all want this, we have this sense of belonging. We want to belong to something bigger that will outlast us. I think that's God-given, honestly. And so when we're talking about vision as a team sport and that we don't want to be just the best company in the world, we want to be the best company for the world, that means we have a vision that's bigger than us.
Wow. That is exactly right. You know, you think about vision leaders, and you're a visionary. John Maxwell's visionary. John and Al has given me a chance to be a visionary. I think the biggest thing that I'm learning right now is in casting the vision, it's more than just to get a nod or a that's good, I like that. There's a sense of responsibility that visionary has to make sure that they're creating momentum around the vision, that they're mobilizing people. I think that's why it's so important that you teach us as a first step to creating vision, that it's got to be seen as a team sport. You know, we go to the mountain, as you talked about a while ago. We come back. Sometimes we use that old non-arguable phrase, God told me, and then everybody checks out because what am I going to say to that? You know, who's going to argue with God? But I think the primary driver of what you're teaching us today is vision, even though it's got to be derived and originated from a person that really has captured the focus and the direction of the organization. It needs to start at the very beginning, being that team sport.
Well, as John says, eventually, if you turn around and no one's following you, you're not a leader. You're just taking a walk.
That's exactly right.
But one of the things that vision does require is a problem. What is the problem that we've gathered together to solve? And with Maxwell Leadership, you know, we've decided that everyone deserves to be led well.
Yep.
And there's a problem. That there's an underlying statement there that not everyone is being led well. Yep. So I'm fortunate to be on the Maxwell Leadership text thread. But what that is a lot of stories of places around the world, people around the world who are being led well in that language. So how do you continue to, put the flag up and say, this is Maxwell leadership. Everyone deserves to be led well. I mean, that's a catchy phrase, but that's not enough. How do you live it out on the text thread and other ways?
Well, and let me again give honor where honor's due. And once again, everyone deserves to be led well was in a leadership retreat you were in, and you said that. That came from your brain, and you said that. You remember. I mean, I say it rolling off my tongue. I'll say it at the end of this podcast today. But boy, the first time, Jeff, you said that as a part of this team of what we want to be known for, it grabbed. I think that goes back to what you're asking. The language has got to grab people at the heart level, not just the head level. Mm-hmm. It's got to make sense, yes, to build strategy, to build tactical plans. It's got to make sense at the head level. It's got to make sense at the heart level. Mm-hmm. There's got to be something that drives that vision, that language that is more than just a bottom line. It's got to be a bottom heart, a bottom connection. I think the second thing that I would say about language has to touch the heart. I think the second thing it has to do is it has to connect with the activity. So many times we have vision and it sounds good, but we go, we're not even doing anything about that. Sounds really nice, but there is no disciplines that we demonstrate to give action to that. John says, quit telling me and start showing me. Mm-hmm. I think vision has to illustrate. Mm-hmm. It has to show. It has to connect with actions. Mm-hmm. And then the final thing that I would say is it's got to be bigger than the organization. We call that significance. Mm-hmm. It's got to be, yes, about successful bottom line productivity of the organization, but it's got to be something bigger. That do we want to be best company in the world, the best company for the world? Mm-hmm. I believe in today's world with today's generation, it's got to be bigger than the organization's benefit. It's got to be for the community benefit.
And I think that's what people are looking for.
I do too.
With the resignation nation and people resigning from their jobs, what I think they're looking for is a purpose that they can belong to. And when you can communicate that with vision, they'll lean in, they'll buy in, they'll get on the playing field, and you'll go further.
This is the I got it stage. This is where you put your hands on it and you got it in your hands now. This is the reward of the dream. Here's the question. Does the dream make the person or does the person make the dream? Here's the way this works. In the beginning, the dream makes the person. I believe this with all of my heart. In the end, the person makes the dream. And here's why. In the beginning, the dream provides momentum. But in the end, if the dream is to be realized, it's because you become a person of character. So it's both, not either or. In the beginning, the dream makes the person. At the end, the person makes the dream. And once you have the dream, once you get hold of it, then the good things begin to happen. Stage number 7 in the dream. I shared with you stage number 4 where a few shot it, and then I sought it, and then I got it. And let me tell you what happens when you get the dream. Number 7, more people fought it. What's interesting is once you get the dream, many times the criticism increases even greater. Criticism is the manure that helps us grow best. You've heard the story, so I won't give it to you today, of the Canadian bird. Surely you've heard the story. Okay, I'm going to try to tell it to you, but I haven't told it for a long time, so I may not remember it. It's about a Canadian bird who every winter, of course, went south, and one year just decided, this is ridiculous to take this long trip. These winters can't be this bad. I'm going to stay up here in Canada. I'm not going to go south this year. And so, sure enough, it stayed up during the winter and the cold winds came. And one day it was just rainy and icy and cold and it was horrible. And the bird said, oh my goodness, I can't stand it here. I got to get south. Took off, got in the air. Rain became sleet. Began to freeze on its wings, and before it knew it, couldn't flap its wings and realized that it was going to have to glide down and probably die. And so the bird glides down to some barnyard on a farm to die and frozen, kind of lays there knowing it's about to breathe its last breath. A cow comes along, steps over the bird, and while he steps over a bird, he drops a plot. right on the bird. The bird is so disgusted. I mean, in its dying moments, a plop is dropped on it. Just ticked. I mean, what a terrible way to go. But the longer it stayed under that pile, the ice began to melt. And he thought, it's warm in here. Pretty soon he said, I'm going to live. And the bird just started singing underneath that plop, and barnyard cat came by and heard a noise and went over there and scooped that stuff off of it and saw that bird and ate it. There are 3 morals to this story. The depth just gets to you, doesn't it? First moral is not everybody that drops a plop on you is your enemy. Second moral is not everybody that takes that stuff off of you is your friend. The third moral is somebody drops a plop on you, keep your mouth shut. Isn't that a great story? That's just a great story. Now let me get to these last 3 stages of the dream. Because the stage number 8 is I taught it. I taught it. What are you doing now? You're taking the dream and you're teaching someone else. You're passing it on to others. This is where you're beginning to develop other people. Okay, number 9, 2 more stages on the dream. Stage number 9 is what I call the we brought it stage. This is where you pass the dream on to others. You're not teaching it now, you're passing it on. People are grabbing hold of it now. Wow. When we bring the dream to others, wonderful things begin. What begins? 2 things wonderful happen when we bring the dream to others. Number 1, we expand their possibilities. When we bring the dream to others, all of a sudden, we expand the possibilities and the potential of people around us. Number 2, they expand our possibilities. You see, the dream is a gift from the leader again to the people, and when I give you the dream, I expand your potential and possibilities. But when you begin to fulfill the dream, you expand my potential and possibilities. It's a win-win. That's why I put in your notes, working together means winning together. There's something about when the dream is legitimate and you bring it to somebody's life that the dream touches them and changes forever. Now think about it for a moment. Think when somebody brought you the dream and it grabbed hold of you. And all of a sudden, you thought differently, you worked differently, you paid the price. One more part, let me review it. There are 10 stages of a successful dream. I thought it, I caught it, I bought it, a few shot it. I sought it, I got it, some fought it, I taught it, we brought it. And number 10, many got it. That's the end of the dream. That's where it begins to multiply.
So what does it take for a leader to be brave enough or wise enough to surround themselves with people who are honest and truthful as they are pursuing their dream?
Well, I think it's to be honest first. I think it's to be willing to go first in the area of honesty. I just had it's so funny because I just had a series of meetings, and one of the people in the meeting was really giving me a very dismal report, just a really challenging, in my opinion, discouraging report. And I looked at this leader and I said, "Hey, can I ask you a question? Is your attempt here to level set me, to discourage me, or to encourage me?" And I said, "You may have a 4th option. I don't know, but that's the 3 that comes to mind. Level set me, discourage me, or encourage me." And the leader sat back for a moment and went, "I think it was to discourage you because I feel discouraged right now." Well, I was waiting for them with great candor and confidence. I was waiting for them to say, it was just meant to level set you, because that was the easy way, right? That's the answer of a 5 out of a scale of 1 and 10.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
you don't have an opinion.
Neutral.
And so I went, I really fully thought they were going to say to level set me. But my comeback to that was going to be, well, I already knew these numbers, and I know these numbers. So I was ready for the answer that I thought. When this person says, I think it was discourage you because I discourage you, I'm going to tell you what happened, Tracy. My respect level for this leader went through the sky, through the roof, and here's why. I realized I had somebody that would be honest with themselves and also honest with me.
Yes.
Now, you know why they did that? Is because I paused and I put them on the spot because I wanted to know, because it was not advantageous to the meeting. So as a leader, I led them through candor and I got candor back, or I led them through trust and I got trust back. See, when John says, and when he's talking about dropping a plot, he was really talking about this concept that he says more people fought it. You'll remember last week, those of you that have listened to last week, you'll remember when we talked about the family members and others that just did not catch it and they really began to discourage us. What John's saying here is, no, it's gone beyond it. You've already got it. You've got it. But guess what? People are not happy that you got it. You're on your way. In fact, there's tangible results. You're starting to experience your dream. And now you got the people that's going, ooh, they're like the crab that wants to pull you back down with the rest of them because they don't want you to get out of the bucket. So you've got a little bit of experience, and rather than surrounding yourself with people that are excited for you, it's people that fly over and plop on you because why? I don't know. So ask them, hey, why are you raining on my parade right now?
Yeah.
What are you trying to accomplish? And I have found the people that will respond well to that, I can trust them. When this leader told me that, I was like, are you hearing what you're saying? You're trying to discourage me. I didn't go, man, you got to be kidding me. You're discouraged. I'm discouraged. I went, no. I said, thank you for telling me that. Now let's get encouraged together.
Right.
The leader came up to me. In fact, I was a little late here, Tracy, to the recording today. The leader came up to me after, says, I don't think I have ever been handled so well when I was feeling discouraged and I wanted somebody else to be discouraged with me. I will do better next time. I said, touchdown.
Yeah.
Because of a candid conversation with somebody that was absolutely raining on my parade. I found out why. And then they too wanted to change that and fix that and become better themselves.
Why I love stories and why we are fleshing out and adding stories to these lessons. This lesson, again, is very similar, other than the plop story. These don't have really application. These are unique stories or lessons for John in that they don't come with applications. John is such an application guy. And so we are fleshing out these stories. Why I love this story that you just told is because we have all been you and we have all been the other person in your story. And every person listening can identify with, hey, sometimes when we feel bad, it's annoying when someone is upbeat and positive and we're looking through negative goggles. And so sometimes, that hurting people hurt people. That's when we become that person. And it's so wonderful when someone handles us in a way or relates with us in a way that helps us to rise, which is what you did. And I think that's the lesson in that story right there, is we can do that rather than be put out. You could have been put out and annoyed with that person on your team. You could have pulled rank as the boss. You could have said, we don't have that kind of attitude in our team meetings. We don't have that, please don't bring that here or whatever. But you handled that person with honesty and transparency, which gave them the freedom to be honest and transparent. So then that to me is a lesson of what kind of leader are we being, that we allow our team members to be open and transparent when they're feeling not so great, when they show up to a team meeting, when ideally they should be positive. So thank you for sharing that, because discouragement is catchy, but so encouragement can be catchy too. So moving on to number 8, where developing others to do it. And John talks about, that's really about sharing and teaching other people to do that and sharing the vision with your teams in such a way that they feel like, you can't, if you're teaching it and developing others to do it, then that means they have to catch it and see it and almost climb inside and feel what you feel so that that vision is transferred. And so I'm curious for you. I mean, we talk about the 6 Types of Working Genius book. We've talked about that before. And the person who is a vision caster and helping get the team on board, if you haven't read the book, we've talked about it before on the podcast. That's a galvanizer, right? That's getting everybody on board. So I'm curious for you, Mark, are you a leader who is that one of your working geniuses? Can you clearly cast the vision? And then how does a leader who's listening in, who maybe isn't a galvanizer, isn't really one who can clearly cast the vision, how do you practice? If you've got this big dream, if you are now at step 8, how do you learn or practice clearly casting the vision?
Well, I think it's a little bit of this story I just gave you, Tracy. You got to look for ways to teach it, and you got to look for ways to teach it when you're not lecturing or when you're not condescending. And for me, I've figured out that as the parent of a 17-year-old, soon to be, my daughter is now finished with her junior year. She's not a senior yet. That's a big argument in our home. Just a sidebar. She thinks that when she's done with a junior, she's a senior. I think that on day 1 of school, after the bell rings, if she's in her seat, then now she's a senior. It's a very dysfunctional conversation, but it's one that's very close to me. So I'm going to use my podcast platform to convince my daughter, and I'm just teasing. But one of the things that I have found at this stage in Macy's life is telling her what to do or even giving her context is not working as effectively as seeing myself almost as a mentor to her. So oftentimes, I think I talked about this on a podcast a few months ago. Oftentimes now I ask Macy, what do you think should be the decision here? And what do you think the consequences of that decision would be? I've changed it a little bit. The way that you teach something, especially in the idea of a dream, what we're talking about these last 2 weeks, the way that you teach a senior level teammate is different than the way that you teach someone that's just starting with the company. You use a lot of language, a lot of stories, a lot of excitement. With leaders, you have to ask the question, hey, are you trying to discourage me? Are you trying to level set me? Or are you trying to discourage me? I'm a little bit confused here. I did not know how this leader would respond. I was pleasantly surprised. But here's what him telling me after we were leaving, what that told me. I used the right way to teach him in that story. I don't always get it right. We could talk for the rest of the day about the times I've got it wrong. But I think teaching somebody to embrace the dream, you've got the dream, you're experiencing the dream, you've got people that are fighting the dream. That's where we are right now as an organization. That's where probably a lot of you are in your leadership. You're experiencing some success. You got some few people that don't like that success, and they're coming after, they're fighting it. Well, you're going to have to find ways that will help your team, help those around you to grasp the lesson of the importance of the dream. And rather than giving you 3 steps to help people, to teach people how to catch the dream or be part of the dream with you, let me give you 1 step. Know where your people are so you can lead them to where you are. You've got to go to them before you can teach them to where you are. And too many people with the dream, they hope their passion will be contagious rather than their example. And I'm just going to tell you, your example is more contagious than your passion.
Yes, that is so good. I'm writing that down. Passion versus example. And boy, is that true. Now, it would be wonderful if you have passion as you are living out your example.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Let me just say that if you are just drudging along, giving your example, that's not really all that contagious.
Absolutely.
But I just think of when you're casting a vision, is it visual? Is it you're painting a picture for them of this is where we're going when you're painting the dream and teaching them the brand new vision. And what I'm hearing you say is it's different for new team members versus old team members. When you are casting a vision, it's different. It's not the same. It's not a one size fits all for your team. So it's knowing your team members is really important. And I've seen that in leadership, to be totally honest. I have been on the receiving end of a leader casting a vision and just really missing the pulse because they didn't do a good job casting the vision or connecting with the people. So when they went to cast the vision, they didn't know what language to use to meet the people they were sharing it with, because there was such a disconnect in relationship. Right. So what does it all come back to? Relationship. That's a big, important piece. If you're going to move forward with someone, with a team of people, in order to put this dream into play with a team of people, you need to know your people, whether they're newbies or they've been with you for years and years and years.
John gave me on that point. John gave me a point to use with some of my leadership a few weeks ago. He said, Mark, I want you to go talk to your leaders, and I want you to say this, or he recommended it. He didn't say, I want you to do it. He recommended it. He said, and I tried this, tell me where you are so that I can lead you where I need you to go. Now, it was on a particular subject. We were wrestling with it, and there was this huge disconnect. What was interesting is two things happened with that statement. One is I gave them a chance to show me, let me hear, let it be revealed where they were. That's always a good thing as a leader, know where your people are. But number two, it let them know very clearly we're not on the same page. Mm-hmm. And John was using the point that as leaders, sometimes we're the umpire. We call the balls and strikes. And there's half the crowd that's watching the game that disagrees with the call. It was too close to the strike zone for it to be a ball. And there's a bunch of people watching that's a fan of the batting team that says, man, that was a close call, but that umpire got it right. That was a ball. Mm-hmm. It's that borderline call. And yet at the end of the day, who make the call? The referee. Not the batter, not the pitcher, not the fans, not whatever fan side of the fans you are. The umpire had to make a call. In leadership, sometimes you have to call the balls and strikes. Well, what I did with that question that said, hey, tell me where you are, where I can get you where I need you to be. I gave them a chance to say, hey, how do you see this situation? What are you seeing? But by the way, you're seeing it differently than me. And I got to get you to where I am, not stay where you are. So it was a statement to let someone reveal where they are. It was a statement that said, we're not on the same page. But here's the third thing. It was a statement that says, you need to get to where I am because I'm the guy that's calling the balls and strikes here. Yeah. Not in an egotistical way. Just somebody's got to call the balls and strikes. And this particular day, it's my turn.
My role today is to get out of the way because, Don, first to you, how cool, how incredible was it to work on a project with the Scott Drew, making his story come to life about the road to joy. Tell us a little bit about that and launch us with the first question.
I have to tell you, Mark, John, we've all worked around books and book projects. They're every once in a while you get that opportunity where you just know that not only are you going to get honored to work on someone's book, you're going to grow in the process. And I knew from day one that Scott Drew was going to help me as a man, as a father, as a leader, as a Christian. He was going to help me grow just by the way he conducted himself. And so, Scott, I want to jump in because I want to value every second we have on this podcast. You came to Baylor, as we detail in the book, when basically no one in the world had any interest in the job, right? You had 1 year of head coaching experience. The program was in trouble. Everyone in the sport knew that NCAA investigations were going to lead to hefty penalties. Why did you believe it was the place for you? And how did you have vision that you could be successful there?
Well, first and foremost, this is an honor and privilege being with you and John and Mark today. And I had no idea John actually had helped my dad when he was at Bethel College, gave him some great coaching advice, talked to the team back in the day, and helped my dad become the coach that he's become. Obviously, your relationship with Dale Brown had an impact on my dad. My dad gets in the Hall of Fame. I actually learned a couple things from him, and we're able to be successful. So I owe you guys a lot. Thank you very much. With that, whenever you have major life decisions, when you have any decisions, hopefully you're prayerful. And one thing I've always God put on my heart was to coach at the highest level, to have a chance to win national championships, and to do it honoring him and giving him the honor and glory. And Baylor University, largest Baptist school in the nation, the last time they had a tournament win was 1950. Valparaiso University was the largest Lutheran school at the nation, and their tournament success was about the same. My dad went to Valpo when I remember Digger Phelps was like, Homer, you can't go there because it's a dead end job. You'll never win there. 5 years later, they start to turn it around, have the first winning season, and Valpo becomes a household name during the 90s. And that blueprint, I thought we could do just that at Baylor. The big reason why you go, God says go. I prayed about it. I felt led to go there. And where people had thought we weren't going to be successful at Valpo, we had done that with God's blessing. And I thought we could do the same at Baylor.
Wow. Now, I kind of jump on this for a moment because you had several probation things on your back. You hadn't had a successful winning program for many, many years. And yet you turned it around. And one of the things I've always said about leadership is if you really want to know a great leader, they need to be what I call a U-turn leader. And a U-turn leader is somebody that gets an organization when it's going down. It's going down. It's not going up at all. And then they turn it, they kind of flatten it out and stabilize it, and then they bring it back up. That's a U-turn. You caught it here and you brought it back over to here. To me, that describes you, Scott. You really caught it at the bottom, and you turned around. Help all of our listeners. Give me one thought. When you think of taking something that's not doing well and turning it around, what's the one thing when you look at Baylor that you could just say to me, this is what we did that began to give us hope, began to give us a glimpse of what we could become?
Great question. First, there's no shortcuts. I mean, you can't put a piece of duct tape over a leak and expect it to last. And what we did at Baylor is just what we did at Valpo, and that is we recruited to our niche, people that we thought would represent our university in the way that would make our alumni proud, our school proud, and people that would fit in with our school. So you're taking character over talent. And at that point, you bring in enough high character people, and then they start to get more and more talent. And now you have an organization that's successful. So with that, so often people take over a job, take over a business, take over a sports team, and they just try to accumulate talent, but it doesn't fit their culture. And it's not about what's going to make their program successful over the long haul. We knew early on, when you have 5 to 7 scholarship players and half the team are walk-ons, you're probably not going to win a lot of games. But you know what? We had great quality walk-ons, and the scholarship players we tried to bring in and recruit were ones that we could build on and lay that foundation, because you know a house has to be built on a solid foundation. And then from there, the talent level increases, and then the success starts to come.
Wow, that's so good.
Here is John.
Vision determines the direction of the team. Vision is what gives any team direction. In your notes, teamwork gives you the best opportunity to turn vision into reality. Pat Riley said teamwork requires that everyone's efforts flow in a single direction. Feelings of significance happen when a team's energy takes on a life of its own. In my 17 laws of teamwork, I talk about the law of the compass. The law of the compass says vision gives team members direction and confidence. And what I have discovered about vision, since vision determines the direction of the team, which is very essential for success, what I've discovered about vision is that vision requires both emotional and logical transference. I'm constantly asked, in fact, one of the questions I'm asked the most is, people come to me and say, John, how do I cast a good vision? Because every leader knows to develop a great team, you got to be able to cast vision. And so when they ask me, how do I cast successful vision, I have to break it down as I am now for you and say there is a logical transference that is important to a vision, and there's an emotional transference that's important to vision. And what I have found is, here's where I've discovered the weakness of many leaders in team building and vision casting. Some are very logical in their vision casting, but do not have the emotion, which is the fuel that carries the vision. And there are some that are very emotional in casting their vision, but they lack the logic to sustain it. So it's both. And so let me just break it down for you quickly.
What is needed to emotionally transfer a vision? Number one is credibility. The most important essence of emotionally transferring a vision is integrity and credibility to the person that is casting the vision, lives the life, and the team knows that that individual walks the walk and talks the talk. Number two is passion. Have you ever heard anybody try to cast vision, but you weren't sure they believed in it? And they were trying to pass it by you, but they weren't passionate about it themselves. Number three, relationships. The closer we are as a team, the quicker the buy-in. Number four is timing. Kenny Rogers was right. I mean, he wasn't talking about vision casting, but he was right. Got to know when to hold him. Got to know when to fold him. Got to know when to walk away. It's the very same thing with a vision. There's a right time to cast the vision. There's a wrong time. A good vision with the wrong time will fail, not because it wasn't a good vision, but because we didn't understand the timing. Number five, felt need. Now, those are the five things that when you're going to cast a vision that you want to make sure that are part of the emotion. Studs Terkel said, I think most of us are looking for a calling, not a job. Most of us, like the assembly line worker, have jobs that are too small for our spirit. I love that phrase. Jobs too small for our spirit. Jobs are not big enough for people. Now, what is needed to logically transfer a vision? Number one, a realistic understanding of the situation today. I stopped long enough to say this. When you're trying to cast a vision, if you're not realistic today, people know that you have no reality about tomorrow. Now, here's a mistake leaders make all the time. I've seen leaders cast a vision of tomorrow because they aren't doing well today. Vision for some people is a cover-up. It's a cover-up for not what you've accomplished today or not what you've dealt with in the issues today. The realism of today has to be part of the vision casting tomorrow, because if it's not, people say, well, if they don't understand and are not realistic about where we are right now, how can we ever be realistic about where we want to go? Number two, an experienced team really helps with the logical transference of a vision. Number three, a sound strategy. That step-by-step process of how you're going to get there. Number four, acceptance of responsibility by the leaders until they not only have buy-in, but they put their name on the line and say, we're going to make this happen. The success of a vision almost always is based upon the buy-in of the leaders who are willing to put their name by the bottom line number, whatever it is. In fact, I often say, don't cast the vision until your leaders are ready to put their name by the bottom line. Sign it right there. Number five, the celebration and communication of each victory. Very important to transfer a vision. And number six, evaluation and communication for each defeat. Here's what we did wrong. Here's why we did not accomplish what we need to. And obviously, number seven is time. Isn't it interesting? To emotionally transfer a vision, you need proper timing. To logically transfer it, you just need time. Jim Tunney, many of you will remember him, used to be a major official in the NFL. He said, a common reason goals aren't accomplished is they are not clearly defined. If employees don't understand their company's goals and its game plan, these goals won't be achieved. Football doesn't make this mistake. Its goals are always clearly defined. At the end of the field is a goal line. Why do we call it a goal line? Because 11 people on the offensive team huddle for a single purpose, to move the ball across it. Everyone has a specific job to do. The quarterback, the wide receiver, each lineman, every player knows exactly what his assignment is. Even the defensive team has its goals too, to prevent the offensive team from achieving its goal. So vision determines the direction of the team.
Okay, so now let's get into transferring vision emotionally. And then John gives us five things that are needed in order to emotionally transfer a vision. Can you share with us a little bit where you're at in your personal journey right now as you are having a big meeting with your leadership team coming up? needing to transfer. Passion is definitely not your problem.
Yeah.
As we're all going to see here.
Intensity
in a
is
sec.
my passion. I mean, my problem, but not passion.
So what of these are you struggling with? Where are you at in your leadership journey as you are needing to emotionally transfer your vision? We'll talk about logically in a minute, but right now, just honing in on emotions. Where are you at in your journey right now with your own team?
Full disclosure for all of you, where Tracy just promised we would get to logical in just a minute. Number one, it will not be a minute. Number two, we may never get there. So let's just start right there, okay? Just full disclosure in what Tracy just said. We may never get to logic in this conversation. So let me illustrate this for a moment to you, Tracy, and I'll take all 5 of these points and I'll talk to you about how I personally am working through emotionally transferring our vision right now. Number 1 is credibility. Recently, right before recording this podcast, sometimes we record and a week or 2 later it comes out, I had a real significant conversation with somebody that's been on my team, helping me impact and challenge literally tens of thousands of people to join our team. And it was a deep, meaningful conversation about, from her vantage point, she felt like that we were off point with the vision that we've been chasing the last 10 years. And because of that, it has created a disconnect for her team that's really helping us chase a part of a very important initiative within our vision. And so I began to take time with her and talk about how that growth, the conversation was, how is this growth app, this Maxwell Leadership Growth app, how is that fitting into a vision I thought we've been chasing? Is this a vision alternative? And I began to share with her that John Maxwell is where he is today because of a commitment he made a long time ago to personally grow. I reminded her of my story of a broken, busted human being at 30 that joined John Maxwell's team, and personal growth focus became the foundation for the leadership effectiveness that I have today. And then I explained to her that you pull personal growth out of John Maxwell's life at any point in his leadership journey, or you pull it out of my leadership life like it was in the first part of my leadership journey. It was absent. I was not growing bigger on the inside than I was on the outside. You remove that one facet and you put a shelf life on leadership. If you, my dear friends, my podcast family, if you are not actively growing yourself from the inside out, you have a shelf life. We may not know that where the dash is, and I'm not talking about life and death as in physically dying. I'm talking about leadership dying. And if you do not have a passion to grow yourself and become bigger on the inside, and you do not have an intentional plan, you may be living your best days today, but your best days are not in your future because it puts a shelf life on it. And I began sharing with her that while John had that at the personal level, I've had that at the personal level. We have not had that at the personal level as a discipline in our business and in our business deliverables. And if we don't get that into our business deliverables, that we will not have the luxury of selling and pursuing the things that we've been pursuing the last 10 years. When I began to give her that as a reference point for me personally and why this on a personal level was driving the vision and the expectation I was putting on the organization, she went, wow, I now understand why this is so important to you, because it's important to yours and John's way that you've personally led. Therefore, it's important to us in how we help other people lead. And we did not have that as a business offering for the last 10 years. In other words, what I did is I established credibility with this teammate that's very important to me back to the vision. When John says that you cannot transfer a vision until you put an emotional point that gives you credibility, he's 100% right. Us as leaders have got to lead from a place of credibility, or there will never be an emotional transference to our teammates. It's got to start at the heart level of the leader before it will ever be affected.
Before you get to passion, I want to just highlight for our listeners the importance of what you've done for your team there that I think leaders who are listening need to hear. I think it's so important because John has always talked about having an open ear policy with his team. And I think the fact that there could have been a huge disconnect between you and this team member who influences tens of thousands of people who are coming into the organization. If there was not an open ear policy where she had the freedom to come to you to
Right.
say, there's a big disconnect here.
Right.
If there was not the freedom, if you had an ego, if you were in a place where this person could not come to you, you would have never known that there was a feeling of a disconnect. And I think it's important for leaders to put on their big boy pants, their big girl pants, and say, hey, I'm open to hear what you're feeling so that we can move forward. That also adds to your credibility. Okay, I think that was an important piece to
I do
just
too.
jump
Thank
in
you.
there with.
No, I do too. Thank you. And by the way, if you want to hear me talk on passion, we have 220 plus episodes of the podcast. Just go back and listen to them. I'm talking about passion all the time.
Yeah,
I want to skip to number 3. And it's not that passion's not important. Go back and listen to the other 200 plus podcasts. But I want to talk about relationships, Tracy, because we had a conversation in here. You are my pick. John's too, but I'm going to just talk from a personal standpoint. You are my pick to represent our future from John Maxwell's relational perspective. We believe that everything John's ever communicated, everything John's ever written, is written with a context of leadership in the form of clear communication, leadership, equipping, attitude, and relationship. And when John and I said, how do we continue growing the trajectory of John's influence in the area of relational leadership, we picked you. No pressure, but we picked you. Now, we're sitting here having this conversation about emotionally transferring a vision, and you're going, Mark, I feel super disconnected from where we are right now. Do you know how riveting that was to me? Our relational leader feels disconnected. And John says to have relationship, you've got to have the team closer rather than farther. You've got to pull the team together. That's what he just said in the podcast just now in his teaching. To really have an emotional transfer of vision, the team's got to feel a closeness, a connectivity. And my relational guide is looking at me and saying, man, Mark, I feel really fragmented right now. It's a violation of our very foundation of what we're doing. Now, I'm not putting you on the spot. We're not living out our dirty laundry. This is a very important point, though. When you're in the middle of vision transfer at the emotional level, and anybody on your team, especially in my case, the relational guide, but when anyone on your team goes, I'm feeling a little disconnected, you are violating one of the key points on what John says is needed to emotionally transfer a vision. A sense of disconnection, leaders, is not emotionally transferring. It, in fact, is the exact opposite. So in this setting that I shut down the recording and said, I don't want to hear John right now, I want to talk what John's saying, you gave me valuable insight to carry into my upcoming meetings. My relational guide is feeling disconnected. It's a violation of our founder's statement of what is required for emotionally transferring the vision. That's all I want to say about that right now because I'm a little fired up, to be honest with you. So that's all I'm going to say right now. I'm just going to tell you guys in podcast land, I need to listen to our own podcast because for us to emotionally transfer, you cannot do that with a disenfranchised team. You can't do that with a sales force that has 1 foot out and 1 foot in. You can't do that with administrative people that see no specific contribution that they're making to the vision. You can't have an emotional transference with disconnectivity. You can't. Let me go to timing.
Okay.
I do think that this timing thing, we're in the middle. We're at all of us, everybody listening, we're in Q3 of the calendar year. You may have a physical year, but we're in Q3 of we're in Q4 rather, of our calendar year, October, November, December, is when we're putting a bow on the year and we're planning for the next year.
Right.
And so this is the timing to understand, am I having logical and emotional transfer of the vision as a leader? It's time to start checking ourselves, leaders listening to this podcast. Have we been, this year is coming to a close, were we emotionally and logically connected to the vision? And for me, I'm living out in podcast land. I'm living it out. I don't know that we have had a great emotional transfer of our 2022 vision. It's not the end of the world. Tracy, you're still here. You'll be here on a podcast coming up. Your disconnectivity is not the end of the world. We'll figure it out. But I'm assessing myself right now in front of podcast land saying we did not get high marks on emotionally transferring our vision this year. And you are point number one to illustrate that. So the timing of asking all of ourselves the question, are we emotionally and logically transferring, is now. The timing is now. Don't wait till the next podcast. Shut the podcast down and ask yourself the question, is my team more connected at this point in the year to my vision or less connected? And if they're less connected, that's okay. There's your building block for next year's plan. And then the final thing is the felt need. I think I've probably expressed that one a little bit, a lot, a whole bunch, not enough. I want to talk about it more. It's a real felt need for me as the leader. Now the question is can I get it to be a felt need for our leadership? Because that's the ship I'm driving right now is the leadership.
Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results.